live. We're live now with a rowdy group of Midwestern guys who have stories to tell. And basically what the premise of this show is having these guys welcome me back to the Chicagoland area, the Indiana Midwest area, and fill in the blanks from when I left to now. So guys, take it away.
Hi, I'm Kyle Blaskamp. I'm a 42-year-old man. I'm 5'4", 285 pounds, seeking other heterosexual men to go on adventures with.
Oh my goodness, too much.
No, but yeah, we all grew up playing together at CLP indoor Badlands, and I thought that this would be a good group of guys to get together and talk about what happened back and where we left off as kids from then to now, and throw some ideas back and forth.
I can't take you seriously after that opening.
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think everybody in here has played pro except for me.
So right? why don't what I normally do is I normally start out by asking people how they started in paintball and got to where they're going. And it usually wraps everybody in together. So that's a good way to start. We'll start with you, Kyle, and then go to Kirk, Ronnie, and Nick. So go ahead, Kyle.
So I started at like 10 years old when I was at a birthday party and fell in love with it right away and started playing as much as I could with my Smart Parts Ion. And CLP was like the only indoor field back then. So that's where I met Ronnie. We were little kids and running around with our little fucking camera and trying to play with the pros and getting dumpstered all the time. It's good times. And then kind of took a break. Like when I went to college, I played a little bit at NIU and then came back and just played divisional and had fun with it. Won a couple of tournaments and at the lowest level possible. And here I am. Still love the game. It's my favorite sport by far. It's just what I love to do. So as much as I can be involved, I try to be involved, you know.
And you are Blaskamp's #1 fan, correct?
I'm Blaskamp's assistant coach in the making.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, real quick. Before anything starts, the only thing that I really see Kyle do online is just troll people and do the funniest videos. And now being in a podcast with him, it is very hard to keep a straight face right now. Because all I can imagine is his face screaming, Blaskamp!
Screaming Aftermath was with Karen.
Oh my God, it's so
Aftermath. That was good.
That's so funny.
Forgot you assistant coach a little bit, Kyle.
All right, Kirk.
So Kirk, go ahead.
Yeah, Kirk Wozney. I started paintball when I was like, I think it was like 12 or 13. Same thing. Went to a birthday party, a place called Paintball Blitz back in the day over by me. That didn't last too long. But after that, I like any birthday. And so then I actually went to a place called Factory Paintball. It was like this rundown indoor factory inside of North Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that place. And I went there. Went there one day, me off, couldn't pick me up till like 11 o'clock at night. And so I hung out there while the place was like closing. And I was like, oh, I love this place. Can I work here? And the guy gave me a job. So I ended up working at a field every weekend. And then I would see people come in. I'd see all the cool gear. And then next thing you know, I spent every weekend there. It became like my life. And then I just got hooked and kept playing and wanted to be a and I met this kid named Aaron Weiner, another buddy. And then he could, told me we could like get sponsored. And then that was like, you can get sponsored and you can get all the hookups and hook up and there. I kept playing for years, playing divisional, wide guys and TJ Andres and all those guys and got hooked. And I had like truly the best time of my life for sure. Those were the best years. And then as I kept going on, I eventually ended up working at Fields. So I ended up working with Nick Pesz. I worked at CLP, which Chicagoland Paintball was like the root of all the Midwest for a while too as well. So I played with it and hung out with there, and I worked, for a long time over there playing with them, sleeping at Nick Pesz's house. Same thing with Ronnie. Grew up with Ronnie, same playing all together, staying at Ronnie's house, hanging out, talking about paintball dreams. And I played for a bunch of I played professionally for many years, and then long story short, I ended up getting a bunch of surgeries. My body was breaking down on me, and I had to make a decision from there, which was one of the tough ones. But that's really the story. I spent years chasing it. Didn't go away to college, kind of skipped college and chased the paintball dream, and always worked side jobs and was made that the focus. Fortunately, I made it pretty far, and then times change.
Right. Evolve, grow, and go on to families and kids, and everybody's path is a little bit different, but we share that common thread about getting into ball, falling in love with it, and seeing exactly how far we can go. How about you, Ronnie?
So yeah, I think we're going to base that off of CLP. CLP clearly is the thing that tied all of us together. And it was like the indoor field that really where I grew up playing, where, Pesz and I established a friendship. Kyle and I established a friendship. And then Kirk and I played my first World Cup with Kirk on the Wise Guys. So just all these different paintball memories tying everybody together. I started playing when I was 12 years old. My neighbor had a paintball gun. He was shooting in his backyard, and I remember I saw it. And my dad and I were like doing yard work, and I was like, "Oh, can I shoot it?" He lets me shoot it. I go, "Yo, I really want one of these." And my dad goes, "You're never going to get one of those in your life." So I instantly went to my mom and I went, "Oh, what happened to Kyle?"
I don't know. Oh, he's back. He's back. My bad.
So I went to my mom, and she bought me one for my birthday. So I went to Country Club, which turned into CLP, played a lot of paintball there. And I was just usually like a local kind of player. I played, like I said, with Kirk. I played in the same vicinity with Pesz, and then me and Kyle actually were like trying to start like a video thing when we were really young. And then I don't know. I think we just all did our separate camps in a way. Because I know Kirk went to. Oh, what happened again?
No, that one was on his Cricket wireless plan. I think that was a boot. So he'll come back and we can pick him up. He'll continue.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and then essentially I started playing for a team called Distortion. Before that I played on a team called Savages. So shout out to Dave Wilson if he's watching. And I played with Savages for a while, and you guys are very familiar because Kyle, you played with Savages for a good while, and then Kirk, did you ever play with them?
I never played with Savages.
I feel like you always played against
Savages. I did play it because I played on Dave Wilson's team as well.
Yeah. So I feel like this. Yeah. Say it again.
I think they were called LSD Savages.
Yeah. So Dave Wilson actually had all of us under his roster. Built a team with that. I branched off. I started playing on Distortion. And then Distortion was like the stepping stone to go to Houston Heat because owner Randy Smith decided to just take it to the next level after we won World Cup one year. And then we won a Canadian X-Ball championship, as well as I played with Aftershock for my first year. Right. And then that's what kind of skyrocketed everything. But actually, Kirk and I played World Cup together that year too. So we won our first World Cup together. And it's it's just so many different paintball tournaments and memories with all these guys. So it's really awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So how did Distortion continue being a thing if Randy Smith started Houston Heat and did all that after that year? Who took over Distortion?
Charlie Burchard and Dave Pung. They actually took over the next year. They took control of the team next year. I think Kirk, you went to Aftershock, right?
Yeah, 2011 we won the World Cup version, and then some of the guys put up the next year.
Yeah, so some of the guys stayed on D1 Distortion. Kirk went to Aftershock. I went to Houston Heat, and then it was ran by like Charlie Burchard and Dave Pung. They took over that team for a good amount of time, and Charlie kept that team afloat for a very long time.
Yeah, till like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, and then actually this kind of goes to Pesz. Pesz was on that team until the end, right? Of Distortion.
2016. They actually continued for a season after.
Yes.
When me and Mike Kerr joined Aftershock.
Correct.
But they blew that. They lost 2 streaks. We didn't win an event that year, and we lost to AC Diesel. So they blew that one pretty big.
Gotcha. So I guess we'll branch off the next story.
All right. Sure. Yeah, I popped in right there. Paintball takes me way back. I had a local store that opened up when I was like 10, 11 years old. Got my Tippmann 98 custom. Went hiking behind the industrials, found some woods, and started shooting it up with my friends. Had some people that knew some tournament paintballers in the industry, and that got me hooked with 665. And they were in Greg Hastings. We were all talking about that earlier a little bit. Yeah, that's right, Greg Hastings.
Yes.
Best game ever.
Hell yeah.
So that kind of introduced me into tournament paintball, and I was hooked ever since then. Just every weekend I could get out to a paintball field before I had a license, had to convince the parents, get out there, go practice. I'm sure everyone else can relate to that, but once you get your own license in the car, you're free. You get to go play, go be with all your friends all the time, play. CLP got introduced into my life about, what was that, 2006, CLP.com, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
We started a team then, and we started playing 7-man. John Rathbun, he was pretty hyped about having a group of kids representing the field at the time that wanted to play paintball and push the Midwest vibe. That was fun. We took fifth our first MPPL event ever, which was huge for a local D3 crew to pop in and take top 5 in an MPPL event back then, because there was 3 layouts then. You were lucky to play one.
Yeah.
Ever, maybe practice one, if I'm not mistaken back then. And that was kind of the start of it. So between all those people I got to meet from then, that incorporated all these gentlemen we're speaking with now, kind of down the road. We all kind of chased the same dream in the Midwest to, if not play alongside each other, just to try to push the Midwest and be the best we could.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, here's another common thread that I didn't know until we all started talking. Was anybody, I think Ronnie was the only one who mentioned country club.
Yes.
Country club.
Now,
baby.
were all you guys country club customers, or were you there when it was Chicagoland Paintball?
I was a country club customer. I was there for country club.
And Kirk?
I feel like that was kind of the start for a majority of the CLP crew, was going to country club and seeing all of our idols there at the time back then at such a extreme consolidated level. There's so many people in one little space, and you look up to majority of those people. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Right. The reason why I bring it up is because in '99, that's where I went to try out for the Far Side guys and got picked up, was actually Chicago, or it was country club at the time. So that's another common thread that I didn't know, that we all spent a considerable amount of time there. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's really back, because back in the day, it was like, if you're going to play paintball and the winter season came about, it was country club. That's where the top level players are playing. They're going indoor to country club, and I think they had like small, like take aim in small places, but like country club had the full X.
Take aim.
So that's where it was at. And if you wanted to try to bring your team out, you could play everybody on the field at one time. You go to any other places, they were smaller at the time. I can't think of anything. Was there any other indoor fields at the time really back then?
It was take aim versus the country club.
Yeah. And take aim had like, I think
Tri-City.
Floor.
There was Tri-City, take aim, the Reball places. Stinger up in Wisconsin, that was a big one for a long time. That was far for a lot of us Chicago people, but that was hands down the best indoor any of us has ever seen, ever.
I mean, realistically, it was like the Badlands guys, and then like the Warp Sports guys, like the Bad Boys Toys, and then like the Warp Sports, and that was like the division. And then there was the Wise guys, who like came out of like left field, at least for me. So that's how I saw it. I saw it split down the middle with like Warp Sports teams, and then it was Bad Boys teams, and all those teams played at the Badlands, the other teams played at Country Club, and it was almost like unspoken rivalry. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's always like those guys who shot all the dye guns because Aftershock shot them, and then there's all the guys shot Eclipse guns because like Avalanche shot them, and it was just kind of like the I don't know.
Pick your clique.
Yeah, exactly. Basically.
Yeah, find your camp and try to grow your roots in there. It was like find a like level team. You had roster teams, D2 teams, D3 teams, whatever it was. Whoever had the feeder system going for the new guys, whoever wanted to join.
Yeah, because you're talking Aftershock had Shock Kids, and like 3 iterations of divisions of shot kids. And then you had the Warp Sports guys, which is like, you know, Pez and all these other guys who, like Louis, who was supposed to be in this, but he's not, who's commenting right now.
Louis?
He just messaged me and asked me to get in.
Just shake your head.
Essentially, it's just, you know, it was cool to see both of those things and like trying to pick a way to go.
I mean, it's pretty cool seeing like, Brandon Mayo and Danny Jack and shit at the field every Sunday. It was like the probably coolest thing ever as like a 13-year-old kid.
Yeah, like,
awesome.
Especially when Avalanche picked up all those guys for the 2007 season when they made Avalanche X, which was
it was Voltage
guys, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Voltage guys, and they had the Avalanche X guys. Originally, they picked up a bunch of Far Side guys. Avalanche did, and then
true.
Ed ended up switching, and I think he just dropped all those guys and picked up the Voltage guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that stirred some drama between those camps. It might have, maybe not.
I mean, just normal rivalry stuff. I mean, nothing, because I know that the Far Side guys respect Ed. Forrest and Ed were, you know, super, super tight, and it was just one of those overlapping things.
Right. So, I mean, with saying that, it was just like really cool, like Kyle said, to see these guys who I probably never would have saw, like Carl Markowski, who actually I played alongside of him in like, you know, a few years ago. You know what I mean? And for me, I actually stayed at his house, and I was like, it was weird because like when I was a young kid, I was just running around country club, and then you like introduced yourself to me, and now we're teammates. So it's just like living those dreams. And like, I'm sure for the guys like Kirk and Nick to like play an Aftershock now, like those, you were playing against or looking up to all these guys, and then you're playing against them, and those guys were your rivals. That's the big thing that like playing pro paintball for us at least was, because we all knew who the idolized pros, like the Dynasty guys were, and then we were on the same level as them. So it was just like crazy.
Right.
All the magazines on the wall, pictures of cutouts, all that stuff that you kept up as a kid. Yeah, it's like imagine your kid watching a bunch of football, and next thing you know, he's standing next to. You know,
I don't think that's me. I think that's somebody
else.
else.
That's Nick Pez's cricket phone.
Now, I have a question.
AT&T.
I have a question. Oh, okay. Somebody's calling me. Okay. No, sorry.
It is you, Brad.
It is me. It is me. It's terrible. It was Rob. I'm sorry. He's from Chicagoland area as well, so he might have wanted to get in here, but just a second.
Rob Leary.
I'm sure that we all have Badlands stories. So please, that's a good question because we've all spent time there. If you can share a relevant Badlands, what's your favorite Badlands story that you can share and not get arrested for?
Oh, there you go.
We might have to skip this section.
Right.
I'll just say, kids, wear your knee pads.
Yes. A friend of mine played there once, and he had some of the most interesting experiences with the mud and everything. And I think we can all agree that you find interesting things in the mud of Badlands.
I mean, that's a history. That's a relic. You know, Badlands has like been there for years, and it's gone through the morph of everything. But yeah, we're in doubt. Yeah, there's treasure over there for sure. You know,
it's kind of like the Midwest Mecca.
Find a shovel and snake one.
You know, going to I
mean, COP fielded a lot of players with Badlands for sure. It takes a lot of heat for takes a lot of.
Dude, the big thing was like, and it's nothing against the field, but it was like the name itself speaks for it. Like the ground was rough out there, but it really toughens you up. Like Kirk, how many times have you sprinted into the snake there and just like, yep, this is just paintball, dude. I'm diving into this dry mud or this dirt, and I'm grinding.
Or metal stake,
right?
Maybe metal stake, but
you had to use a sledgehammer to put the stakes into the ground there. That's how bad it was. Well, like, it was concrete.
You have a good practice there, and you go home, and you're really beat up, and it was like, man, this is what it's like to really grind out there. But then, like that's all we knew, right? And then when you go to fields that had AstroTurf that weren't that, we were like, wait.
Right.
Paintball is
kind of conditions you for that hard, gritty, Midwest, dirty style, and you know it does condition you. So I do see a purpose in it. So I guess what a good question to go into that is, Ronnie, what do you think the current state of the Midwest is? Because you should be an expert on the matter. So please, sir.
All right. Well, my opinion on the Midwest paintball right now is I think it's coming around. I actually do. And the reason why I think it died is because when Aftershock ended up folding for the NXL, I mean, they're still very relevant in Woodsball. They've won like a ton of tournaments in Woodsball scene. In the mecca of speedball and being in the NXL, when they folded, they're really like, for a kid to grow up right now, it's very hard to aspire to be a pro player if there's no pro teams in your area, right? So when we were growing up, Aftershock was a pro team in our area, Avalanche was a pro team in our area, or we would have to externally think and dream one day that we were going to play on Dynasty or Infamous or something, right? But right now, the situation at hand, that's why I'm saying this is coming around, is there's no teams in the area. Aftermath was close, right? They what? It was last
San Diego.
Year? Yeah, well, it was like last year, but it was mostly Midwest guys.
Yeah.
Iannucci's still running it. But now it's mostly California and all a mix of guys right now. But to have a team to look up to say, I'm going to go pro in your area is what drives a lot of like kids to want to aspire to be pro. So right now, I think Blast Camp, with what you're doing, Brad, with that team and watching those guys
Blast Camp
coming up from the beginning of like, those kids were Division 4, Division 5 kids when we were starting our pro careers. And now, I mean, I'll vouch for myself. I've played against every single one of those kids on the Blast Camp team, and they're the truth. Like, they're very good players. So to see them grow, once they just hit their stride and fully like start to peak and winning events and dominating, and then become a pro team, if everything stays together, which with the way Virgil's running the team and the way the team's chemistry is going, I think that they could be the next thing where kids are going to look up to try to, aspire to be on,
I appreciate that from my perspective. And this is the probably the most real moment of it all, is I wanted Kyle to reach out to everyone who has a stake in the Midwest, because I know, Ronnie, you and I have talked, and it's one of those things where I believe that bringing in the old, the new, and layering education on my guys is going to be the way that we do what we want to do.
100%. And then I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ryan Broshears. He runs.
Yes, absolutely.
So Ryan and I, since I've met him and since I've been to Blast Camp, which was like last year was the first year I've ever actually like played there once the tournament scene kind of erupted there, or for me at least. Him and I've probably done almost 20, 25 clinics with the guys that he's growing, and he has a great
hair.
Yeah,
right?
At O'Hare and at Blast Camp. He's got a great program where it's like, hey, it's hard. When we were young, it's hard to go to a field if you don't know anybody and just find a group of 5 people. What he's doing is he's saying, my doors are open for everybody. I have a huge paintball club, and then the top players will turn into a tournament team. So what he's doing is open doors. He's got like 50 or 60 people under his camp. So what we've been doing is we've been running clinics almost every weekend, like this whole off season. So it's my goal is to give back and try to grow this into like the next, what Badlands used to be when we were growing up,
right?
What Warp Sports and Country Club used to be. And I think it's getting there. I mean, it's coming around, but without.
Where is Blast Camp exactly? It's Hobart, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hobart, Indiana. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I haven't been there, unfortunately. So.
Right. And then not to count these guys out, but Breakout Paintball. Yes. The other field in the Midwest is, they're a little bit farther out from the city of Chicago. They also have been, and I've been working with guys there, and they've also been creating a camp out there. And it's almost like
guys,
right,
which have the Far Side bloodlines that, of course, I'm familiar with, and I respect those guys. Saw them out in Vegas, and they did real well. So shout out to the faction guys.
Yeah, didn't they win, right? Or
I don't know.
I think it was. I think they either won or it was 2. 1 or 2. I know that they made.
I'm pretty sure they won because I was celebrating. I I was kind of drunk on Sunday, but I was I was celebrating for them when they
No,
were
Ronnie, no.
they were on the podium and I was celebrating. So to bring those two camps into full effect, that MidWest is coming up. It's not as publicized as it was when we were younger. Right. It wasn't the Danny Tiljacks and the aftershock camps and all that. It's not as publicized yet, you know?
Yes. The Midwest got picked apart. Long story short.
Yeah.
I mean, it evolved.
I mean, that's kind of the best way to look at it. We have some people based out of the Midwest playing for teams in California all over the place. Really no true representation of the Midwest. Ronnie Houston, just Brian Rodarte, rest in peace with his paintball career. Really did a good job. But he was, rocking Infamous for a while. Also just a Midwest-based team, but not rocking the Midwest still. So that kind of hurts when all the players get cherry-picked to represent different areas, even though everyone's still based in the Midwest.
That's true.
So you don't get to represent your stripes properly.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Like Aftershock, that's what I want to do when I played pro. It's like, okay, I want to represent Chicago.
There used to be like a certain kind of pride for like playing in the Midwest, like when we were kids, especially like that rivalry. Like when you would go out and play against kids from California and shit, you like wanted to smash them because it was just the different regions. I feel like played against each other harder than they did before. They do now, at least. It feels like it's a lot more mixing now. And like then it was like you're from the Midwest. That's the shit. You want to be from the Midwest.
It's all Nick Pez's fault.
All Nick Pez's fault for moving to Florida.
Dude,
I played on Distortion when I lived on Florida, and then I played on Aftershock when I lived in Florida. What does that have to do with it?
Let's look at some of these comments.
It's your fault, Happy. You're not in paintball. You quit on paintball. I had to go to work. You did.
Faction took third. I got a video of drunk Ronnie cheering them on. Okay, don't share that.
Share it.
Haven't played since CPX closed. Oh yeah, CPX did close, so that's another.
That was a big one too.
Yeah, that was a huge one.
CPX is I forgot about that.
The venue, actually, I think the venue location is a big thing too. Like with paintball, like in general, with how many people pay attention to it, and how many people play, is like we went from like those Bolingbrook events were fucking awesome. They brought like a huge crowd. There were a lot of people that like had no idea what it was that would show up and like come and watch.
It's kind of.
I feel like those were the years that we had like so many people like that, and it would take you a half hour to like get in and play a point.
Hey Kyle.
Like now it's
I'm texting him. Texting him. Kyle, go ahead and reset, jump out, come back because you're kind of
There we go.
Now that he's gone, let me tell you guys something.
Lock him out.
Yeah, we're free.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And
I'm still skipping around on my screen.
Really the big thing for me, Ronnie, is I wanted to make sure that I reached out to the right people, and I was telling the Blast Camp guys, that I need to know, I need to be reintroduced to everybody, because of course once I am, and once guys start talking, they'll see, how much time I've spent down there and what my love for the area is in wanting to build it up, wanting to build it the way that it should be, because I agree, that's why we're doing this.
Absolutely. Brad, I like what you're doing right here. Just being able to interact with old and new faces in the sport and giving the
bringing friends together that haven't talked in years.
I haven't spoke with Kirk in so long. I miss you, man. Yeah. And
Kirky boy.
Pez, the last time Pez and I talked was on Call of Duty Mobile.
I saw you at Cup. No, I saw you at Cup when you won. I only show up to Cup just because I know you're going to win it, Ronnie. That's the only reason why I come.
But like the last time we actually spoke was Call of Duty Mobile, like a month or two ago.
Oh yeah. When I was at my brother-in-law, I was at Mark Jabrowski.
Yes.
Yeah, Grabowski's. Yeah.
And then Kyle, I just see him in waves of his videos. I'm like,
yeah, Kyle. We all see Kyle. So. Yeah. Even if he doesn't see us.
Should I tell him the story, Kyle, of down in Florida when I first met you or first heard of you?
Oh yeah.
Should we wait for that story? Do you think they would appreciate it?
Funny shit. Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So here's the whole thing. I go through this long process, this interview process to be the coach of Blast Camp. we talk about it. It was right before the ICPL or the last ICPL in Florida. And one of my buddies, when I get to the ICPL, I see him clear across the venue. He comes sprinting, full on sprinting to me. And he's like, Brad, did you hear about the dude who left Aftermath and is coming to coach Blast Camp with you? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Kyle, is it Kyle?
Like, this dude left Aftermath and he's coming to Blast Camp to coach you. And I'm like, I haven't heard anything, but like I said, I've been waiting for my shot.
You're the best.
If a pro coach is coming, I'll welcome him. We'll do it together. I went the entire day. Nobody else talked, and it was just one of those things in the back of my mind. I go back to my hotel room and I look, and that's the first time that I see Kyle Blast Camp. Okay. And I watch it, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, bro, how could you possibly think that this is real? You know what I mean? Like, this isn't real. But that was the first interaction that I had with Kyle, because I called up Virgil and I'm like, hey, Virgil, I think this is a joke, but you got to tell me. He starts laughing, just completely rolling. Like, I probably should have told you this was like a joke. This guy is all funny. And I'm just like, I get it. I completely get it. But some dude came up to me and said, hey, Brad, they got a new coach. It was the funniest thing.
Sorry.
And that's the story of how I got to know this guy, and then all of the hilarity ensued.
You realize the marbles were lost in this guy when
What do you mean? His marbles are fully aligned. He knows exactly what he's trying to do.
Yes.
He's got all of his marbles.
Absolutely.
Oh,
so now, Ronnie, we were talking about Classic a little bit when we were offline or via text. I want to get your guys' opinion, because who in the room has played 10-man? Because if you guys are idolizing the people that you are, the heroes that you are, those are some 10-man flipping wizards in the Midwest. So please tell me, who's played 10-man?
I'll let Pez take it away. Pez, you've played an ICC, right?
Yeah.
I've played a couple ICCs. I've traveled to Florida, played Rico's events for his classic paintballs. I try to play the Mounds at World Cup when I get a chance. I feel like it's just a different change for someone who gets burnt out on the traditional speedball. Someone that's needs a change. It's definitely going to go back to the roots for sure. Mechanical paintball with a crew of people. 10 people on a paintball field is chaos. Always. It's always a good time. Epic things happen always. And I just feel like it's exciting. It's not fun to watch.
Hold on one second. Louis is on. No, that's
but
Louis. That's Louis. Louis is on a completely different account now. Just blasting.
Yeah, it's because I blocked him. He was fucking calling me over and over again.
What is happening there?
That chick was Louis? You tell me that girl.
Louis. Why is that was Louis? Emily, or whoever that was?
Yeah, look at the chat on the right side of the live comment.
Yeah.
Read it.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was a live chat.
I didn't see that. I didn't see it.
I didn't see the live comment.
I'm like, who's this?
Oh my God, hey Louis.
Can we get a sixth in here? Now I want to hear him talk.
2021 comeback. Oh wait, this is the first time I can see this. It's cool.
Oh,
I didn't realize either. If you put live comments, you can really see all the comments that I had no clue.
I've been staring at all of them like, are we going to address any of these?
I haven't seen them.
Oh, see you later, Pez.
We'll need them anyways.
So, Cricket pulled the plug.
He hit the data limit.
Yeah. His limit was 1 gig a day.
We have lots of hey, what's ups here.
Ronnie, show me your tits. Adam Staz.
Adam, what's up, man? How you doing? Let's see who else. Jackson Frey. You can take this one away, Kyle.
Blast
What's up, Roy? How you doing? Rock Karach. That's Louis right there.
Yeah, that's Rock.
Okay, here we go. Nick Van I don't know how to say that. Gimmert. There we go. I think we need to bring in some older guys to help mentor some new teams. I agree. I mean, but who's the older guys that you would bring in, right? Who's in the area? It's difficult to, especially when guys who just recently quit are working, and it's like, okay, like who's going to pay for those guys enough money for them to actually want to take time to mentor a team, as well as those guys actually even want to do that. You know what I mean? So
usually get older, and kids or the life takes over, and it all depends on that. But yeah, it's difficult, but it can still do it. The people who have the passion, there's a lot of people. I mean, will have the passion that still come out and keep a lot of these kids. Like Kevin Carlisle's one-on-one that kept around for many years. You have Dave Wilson, who's the guy who kept around. You got those kind of soldiers that really keep the mentoring alive, and the people that really come in and out.
Right.
You know, I mean, like Ronnie's been around the game for a long time, and he's keeping the mentorship going. But then a lot of guys like me that end up stepping out of the ring for a while. You know, it's kind of like a drug. You know, and you get addicted. So like you come in. And then once you step back in, you're addicted again. You're investing your whole life and your career and your time to make it happen. And sometimes you got to step back out because it's like it's hard to tiptoe back into something.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
A lot of guys do is they have to like quit cold turkey to like focus on their lives for a while, and you see that for a lot of people.
100%. Yeah.
Dave Wilson in 2011. I was like, well, I don't know how old was I in 2011. 20 or 18. Dave Wilson saw me play at CPX, and he's like, he asked me if I wanted to play in a 5-man tournament in New Jersey, and I'm like, yeah, I'll play. It was me, Mike Kerr, Will Chandler, Rick Holmes, and Ryan Rodarte. So a stacked team in 5-man. We got absolutely shit on. We lost every single game. We got hammered drunk. So we were we were actually there hitting for Infamous the whole weekend. So we got like all their paint and shit. So like, cause that's all we did. And they lost every game. Yeah. So they were all pissed off. We lose every game. We were all pissed off. We go back to the hotel. Everybody gets sloppy drunk. And Will Chandler fights Chris Lasoya in the hallway of the fucking hotel. And got so mad he punched a fucking microwave and broke it into pieces in the hotel room. And I fell asleep on Mike Kerr's bed, and that's all I remember. And I flew home the next day.
But like, okay, so to stop you there, those are the stories that we all grew up like those were awesome. That was paintball. That was paintball.
Right. You know what I mean? It was. You could not find that kind of cowboy like crazy mentality.
No.
I mean, the first World Cup I played was with Kirk, and we were like hog tying people and trying to throw them in a pool. Like,
we hog tied our buddy Shane Kelly, rest in peace at times. But he was same thing. Is that he didn't get that wild stories or like adventurism, and like that's what hooked us all is because the sport's addictive.
Yeah,
the camaraderie with all the guys, and the fact that you just had people that were there for straight like passion, and when you get those guys together, you're all with good. Yeah. The amount of stories, drinking and stoned everybody, fighting. I mean, yeah, you really addicted. You couldn't find that outside the paintball realm.
No.
You really couldn't find that kind of like escape, one in the sport, but two, like everybody there. Yeah, it really was like your own.
I feel like it brought a lot of like extreme sports guys from like all different sports too, like snowboarders and skateboarders and guys that like pretty much anybody that had that kind of like gritty attitude that played, like really enjoyed it. And like, at least like back in the day, that was all that was playing was guys that had like, that special like drive, to play that was different than anybody else's and wanted that adrenaline and wanted to punch people in the mouth. And like, I feel like it's a little different now, at least to an extent. A lot of the guys that are coming up is like, when we were kids, everybody was kind of like, I mean, we wanted to hurt each other a lot more.
Why was the Midwest notorious for violence?
I don't know. I saw a guy get
Mike Bruno.
Mikey Bruno? Blaine Bruno?
Bruno's the reason?
Amtrak was successful.
What was that team called? Was it Chi-Town Raiders?
CTR? Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a guy on that.
Chi-Town, Jason Stapula, the Suggs, all them.
Shot him, and this guy got
I thought this was a good one.
Hold on. Let me answer this one.
Yes, stop.
Wait, y'all ugly as fuck? Let's not even address this one, okay? Let's just move
Your
to the next
nickname is Teeth, bro. Your brother's name is Tits. Tits and Teeth. Let's keep going.
Keep it moving.
Yeah, keep it moving on that.
Know your role in the Midwest, baby. Keep it going.
I will agree. I'll say that paintball, the aftershock created that smash mouth mentality, and they were so
for real.
so long that when you're a young kid, you look up at whoever's winning and idolize, and you copy that style. So a lot of the Midwest kids throwing their body at the rocks on Badlands were like, that's the way to go, and then it took off. You know, that's what Midwest paintball was always known for, the harder grit. And like California raised, the West Coast raised a lot of players, of course. There's a whole different mentality in the Midwest, like hardcore work ethic style of like dealing with the cold in the winter and having to like grind it out to be able to get to practice in storms. Then you always had
we had to endure so many different conditions. Like, okay, so getting ready for the first event of the year was absolute trash.
Worst
because of the winter.
Snow.
So we had to play indoors. Playing indoors already puts you at a disadvantage when you're going.
Last event, snow,
because you're not shooting the same lanes as the guys in the West Coast, you know, because the depth perception's all off. So you get to the tournament and then the game's completely different because there's factors like wind and stuff. Like,
and the cold. You have to shoot marbles at each other to get it out of your guns, and you're all wearing sweatshirts, so you're bunkering each other and playing on because it's bouncing, and it just turns into chaos. And you're doing this with your teammates.
Yep. So I think it's just hard for Midwest to do that unless you have a productive program that actually is breeding that type of all year round mentality. It's hard though, because back then it was just like you kind of fended for yourself. So you had your boys and that was it, you know? And
it's a different time nowadays with what you can really explicitly say and explicitly do. I mean, one kid pushes the kid in the paintball field and they call the cops. Like, it's back then they didn't have that problem. Now you got lawsuits and you got concerns. And
right. Yeah, that's true.
Trying to protect the youth to keep the youth coming. And if you get scared off.
Paintball did get pretty PC, dude. Like to an extent. Like think about like it used to be 15 BPS. It used to be like think about how long matches used to be and shit. Like everything is different now. It's kind of like I feel like they dumbed it down a lot. Like not saying that that's a bad thing, I guess, in every aspect. I just think that it's really different than what it was. You know?
Shout out to Henry. He said, yo.
Yeah, shout out to Henry. Definitely spent a lot of time.
What up, Henry?
Yeah, no, I mean, I see what you're saying about the PC thing. My thing is like when I was growing up, I think later in my career, and probably for you, Nick and Kirk, I don't know about you, Kyle, and I think like players like Sloviak and Drew Templeton, those guys are the guys who like lent a hand out and was like, hey, come snap shooter. Hey, like, you know, you could have done this better. And like, that slowly started as the years went on. Those players slowly started to come in more, and I started getting more advice. All these pro players, but I feel like back in the day, I don't know what it was like for you guys, but for me, there wasn't really many lending hands, you know?
No.
Until later in my career, it was more or less like
it was Nani rocking on my door at midnight with LJ Woodley saying, hey, let's go to CLP and do drills even though I'm sleeping. Let's wake up Pez. That was you back in 08. That's how you got better. Let's go wake up Pez and open up the paintball field.
Yep.
There's your peers. It wasn't much of the pro players. There's your peers really pushing you. The pro players are
yeah, you had to figure it out by yourself. Like you had to figure out everything on your own when we were
right. At CLP, you would just line up, and whoever was on the other side of the field was on the other side of the field. That's it.
And you played a point, and then you walk off the field, and you and your friends talk about it, and that's it. You don't even talk.
Yeah.
Like, the other team that you just played, you fucking hate.
Oh, yeah. And they hate you.
Yeah, always.
You got to get back in that box quickly because if you're not in line, you're never getting in there.
That's what it was like. And everybody was
crazy.
Dude, everyone was running around with like a chicken cut with their head cut off. Like literally it was like T-Breezy and everybody trying to see how many kills they could get.
T-Breezy, oh my goodness.
And then it was like,
or
it was Kirk literally going to the snake off the break and go all the way to the other side of the player snakes, shooting all 5, and then nobody breaking down the point after, just more or less like, oh, I shot all 5, and then you move to the next point. You literally forget about anything you learned that day.
Yeah.
It's like, we're just fucking playing pubs or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why a lot of other programs, like, okay, like, for example, the Russian program, they breed their players. They have classes of just snap shooting and running and shooting. So that's why those players are fundamentally just sound. And then our players are just like angry. I don't know. Maybe that's what I see. Right. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
We definitely have that Midwest edge to us, and it's something that I see and I can connect with a lot of the players because it wasn't given to us.
Yeah.
We didn't have the clear cut, this is how you do. I mean, my first experience with Chicago was when coming down from Minnesota, going to an aftershock practice in
Minnesota.
ended up fighting each other. And I'm just like, you guys
Pez,
but that's the way that it was. That's how they ate their young. I mean, that's how it was.
exactly. To build off that too, Nick Pez, you had a practice with Mutiny and it was you and CLP.com, right? And Mutiny, and then all it did was turn out into a big fight between Louis, David Barga, and like a bunch of their guys.
Yeah, I think it came down to some people getting shot and not wanting to get out, and then it's hoopla. Like, we were the lower dogs at the point. I guess Mutiny was the pro team at the time. So, like, in the Midwest, everyone gets it, and you try to climb your way up the ladder by, like, talking shit to the closest dogs you can, and that was Mutiny at the time. So I guess that practice was a good stepping stone for everybody on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing. Shooting up some famous, like, one of the top-notch players, and put on him the most. It brings a lot of attention.
I remember Barga messing them up. We were at this was in Indiana. This was at Plex, I believe. Right? Ronnie
Shout out.
Louis said Aaron Thole.
Oh yeah, it was between Aaron Thole and Louis and David Barga.
Yeah, that's what it was. We had aerial cameras. That's actually on YouTube
Shock?
somewhere, actually. There is a fight. No, this wasn't Shock. This was a CLP.com versus Mutiny at a random practice at Paintball Plex.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
this was 2008.
To build off what you said, Brad, it was just like just practices that ended up in fights. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of other people get steamy when it comes to that stuff, but I mean,
Not like they used to.
no. Which okay, so I have a question. Is that a negative or is that a positive? Because there's a huge movement going around saying make paintball violent again.
Right.
Correct.
But what does that really entail? Like, does that mean
that the people who are asking to make it violent again understand it? Because I grew up in the 35 cycles per second, blowing, executing everyone within distance, and believe me, that wasn't fun. We are all slightly mistaken, but you got to say, at some of the levels that those guns were shooting, it was 20, 30 with e-bounce and whatever, and it was getting pretty
350 plus, FPS as well back then. Yeah, I mean, people were breaking pods on the field. Badlands, you get bunkered, your hopper has a hole in it. You're like, what is going on here?
I don't buy your brand new Empire Reloader B with like the brand new speed. You go into this thing one time and somebody bunkers you at 36 balls a second and it's broken.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
And your mom,
and your
like,
$4 pods. You're like,
yeah,
oh
dude.
my god, dude. You're like, oh.
Because Brad, when
So
you
I think it's a good thing because the game's kind of more of like it makes it more of like a chess game now than it used to be. It used to just be like, there were less bunkers and you were shooting a lot faster. So you shot certain gaps and then kept shooting those gaps. And then,
Right.
I mean, it was just
closed them off and moved. And
exactly. It was just different. Now it's like you can kind of move differently. You can make bigger moves without like.
I don't know about big. I don't
A
know
lot more
about making
bunkers.
bigger moves. I think in the current state of paintball with the higher divisions, I think it's the hardest paintball that the players have evolved so much that the game is literally centimeters. Like we're talking.
It is.
And
Right,
people wonder,
it's a thinking game more than
think about it like this. People wonder why the sport's so boring when it comes like to Sunday. It's because the teams that are at the top know how to control a zone. So it literally comes down to the one snapshot that gets made, or the
level of playing is so even across the board.
Dude, there's no there's like one bottom pro team maybe. Like that's it. Like besides that, everybody has a chance to win, and the game is so difficult right now because everyone is so good. Like before, you could get away with like running and shooting to a corner sometimes, no matter how fast the balls were, because the skill level was not there yet. But now, I mean, you're talking the top 10 pro teams, the top 10 semi-pro teams. If you give that person a second chance at shooting that lane, he's going to dial it. Right. So the room for error is so small. A pro team in 2005 is like a Division 4, top Division 4, Division 3 team now. You know what I mean?
You looked at like college.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
D3 teams could hand a pro team a couple points any given day of the week nowadays. It's like just depends who shows up when they show up. I'm so impressed by all the local talent nowadays in all these areas.
I mean, it's went through a huge evolution process.
Players develop quick.
I mean, like from Brad, when you were younger, you started like it was a bunch of older men that had money at the time that were more like, barbaric essentially. That started out that had money, that were older, that were more ruthless. And then as the years went on, from that ruthless, slowly bringing kids in, the kids slowly came in. And then once the kids kind of got in, they got to sport where the kids were more athletic and keep it going. And then they became more PG a little bit.
Right.
The kids kind of kept the evolution of the sport. The old men are what created it. And that's where that violence came from. And then once the kids slowly, once again, the spectrum kind of took over. And now it's that middle ground, at least where I think of it as.
Yep. And I was lucky enough to actually be a young kid when those OGs were making that ascent. But when it came out of the woods, I still was able to go to an airball format and still play, get a lot of years in it. And then also I saw that you were laughing, Kirk, so you saw this. So please, do you care to answer? Because I've got a great play, bro. I got a great
That's a great question. For a while I just left the sport game because I had surgeries and I had all that kind of stuff going on, and then I need to focus on my life and get like my investments and career and everything figured out. I tiptoed a little bit last summer. I came out and played with Aftermath in October a little bit just to get back in the game. I want to get back into it. Time commitment is very difficult nowadays because you take off work and then you got to take off the time and the money and the flights. Hold
on, bro. You got like maybe 2 events that you have to play this year with this whole coronavirus going on.
Corona season.
You might only have to play 1 event this year.
If it's so, like, when I have a come out of retirement, I would come out of retirement. It's so hard to leave this thing. But it's very hard to commit to a whole season. But I mean, the more and more I go back into it, I've got my life straightened now.
Well, I want to invite you because I was talking to Ronnie. I've talked to the camp guys and all of that. I want to put together a great sparring partner for the semi-pro dudes with a good combination of young and old talent. I want to make it fun. Please, when you can come out, send me a line, do whatever. You're more than welcome. I'll work you in. I'll always have that team there. I've invited Ronnie. I've invited many other guys who've reached out to me from the Midwest who've known me growing up, knowing me, and I want to make sure that please, if you have anything that you want to do, come out and I want to work you into it. So please.
No, I appreciate that. I've definitely been asked a lot and to start coming out. The bug has been growing. Simmons, a really good buddy of mine, he's always been talking, and he keeps saying, "Come out!" So like for you guys and everyone, it's like, yeah, you can't stay away forever. Anybody who ever says they quit paintball, they say that just to like step out for a little bit, but it's always pulling them back.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Everyone still keeps up with small content, and then so my feet's always dipping on the water, but I mean, it actually is possible nowadays. I miss it. You miss it. You really can't get that thrill. And so now it's kind of eagerly coming back in.
Well, clearly the sport misses you because a lot to are asking, including myself.
Right. The sport does miss you. So please.
Yeah, Kirk Wozney.
Nick comes back. Maybe Nick, you coming back to play paintball again?
Nick hasn't left. He's been playing ICCs every year.
You still playing? No. I played the UW. And I've jumped back into those kind of things. I didn't play last year, but the year before.
I played, the past 2 ICCs. I do play at least once or twice a year right now. Not too competitively. I hate losing, so I need a group of guys that are super serious, and I can't lose like that. Like I don't know. It's just terrible to say.
I understand.
Coming from a camp like Distortion where we produce results for so long, and it's like all you do is expect to win, and then things happen. That's the way it works, and I'd rather have fun with it when I can, while I can.
So what's that funding? Does that mean UWL? Does that mean just playing a random practice? Does that mean coming out and pumping little kids up that have no idea what's going on?
I say hopping on
putting himself in situations where he never loses.
Luckily, I do live close to the ICC event, so I'm never ruled out for that. So I can always hop on a team for the most part. I like to think at least, but I don't know if that's what it comes down to is playing 10-man once a year. I'm happy with it. It's a lot of work to go play pro paintball. Everyone needs to accept that, and I'm trying to work right now, trying to build my company and a lot of things around me. So paintball is kind of on the back burner as well, unfortunately.
Happens to a lot of people.
Has Kyle blinked yet?
Kyle, this is Kyle.
Kyle, what's
Dude,
on your mind? Kyle, what's on your mind right
phone
now?
is in this like weird spot, so it's like I can't tell if I'm like centered or if I'm like too far forward or like I need a
Flash
webcam.
cam.
You're perfect. You are perfect.
This is that guy always commenting up the whole time. That old guy.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So how was your experience in Vegas, Ronnie?
Like the tournament itself?
Yeah, just I talked to some of the guys.
Not the hookers and
earlier.
strippers, Ronnie. The tournament.
Right. The event.
Come on.
How did you like the event?
I mean, we lost, so I didn't like it. But I did. Okay, so here's where my opinion about losing is. It's like,
You learned.
yeah, exactly. But being able to go off the World Cup win and then going into this and then getting knocked out the first round, it obviously doesn't sit well, you know? And it just shows like we lost to Revo by 1 point, and it just shows that the room for mistakes is so close, you know? We had a great
Variables.
That's really what it is. It's like we were firing on all cylinders except the impact game. They really shit on us, and then we went to the quarterfinals, played Revo, and they had the better of us. They played really well. They played very controlled, really well. Mike Zupa had a really good match against us, and I mean that's pretty much it.
So how did you feel about that layout?
I thought it was fun.
I thought it was like one of the best in the last like 2
Ronnie,
years.
you played really well.
Thank you.
Did on that. I watched every single game from that because I was here at home for it, and that was a great performance. Good job, bud.
Thanks. Well, the big thing was Fedorov and I actually, after we walked the field, Fedorov and I stayed an extra 30 to 45 minutes walking the Dorito side, and he just said a few things to me about just like a few spots that I need to check off, and if those guys aren't on me, then you basically have the green light to go all the way down the field. So off the break, right before the breakout, I'd line up and I just looked to see where their back center was looking, and that would gauge whether I could go wide or not. And realistically, on that layout, if the back center wasn't looking at you, you could go
Green light
anywhere. Pretty much. But besides
with
that,
your fast little feet.
I mean,
Little roadrunner.
besides that, like just that layout itself was so fun to watch because it was so dynamic. You know, like look who won the event, Ironman, because it was just like they played so lights out.
LJ, another distortion member right there.
That's what I'm saying. LJ played one of the
very
best
proud of him.
tournaments I've ever seen him play. So
Ever, hands down.
So the dynamics from watching the Dorito side, watching the center, watching how it all played out. This layout was probably one of the best ones in the last,
And he's also a great Midwest player. So
Yep, and I would be remiss to not mention Dan Norcross as well, Minnesota guy.
Absolutely, yeah.
I made the mistake of leaving him out on one of my last podcasts, and I apologize, Dan. So great Minnesota.
Hi, Dan. If you're
Dan, I'll give that to you.
Actually, one time
you're
Dan
awesome.
actually was
Remember Dan Gebner's house?
Oh my god! So listen, I remember one time Dan was at the Badlands and he didn't even have a place to stay. I think he just came to play and he didn't really plan. He was just going to try to do the, chat and crash at someone's place.
Yep.
Well, I'm pretty sure he was banking on LJ Woodley to stay at his place, and I'm pretty sure LJ just left before he had the chance to even ask. So, and I didn't know Dan. Like I knew him just from paintball. I didn't really know him. I wasn't even really friends with him. Like I was just acquaintances. And I'm at the field and I'm gearing, and he just walks up to me and goes, "Hey, can I sleep on your couch or something? I don't have." I'm like, and Kirk's with me, and Kirk's like,
such a nice guy.
Looking at him, I'm looking at him like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So he gets in the car. I'm like, "Hey, we're gonna stop by CLP to go visit Nick to hang out."
Crazy.
We would always do that on the way home from Badlands because it's on the way.
Yep.
So we're on the way back. get to CLP. Dan just comes up with this crazy idea. It's not that crazy to think about, but at the time he was like, hey, you guys want to play tonight too? And we just got done playing Batman for like 6 hours, 7 hours. And Kirk and I were like, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So then,
I'll go get the paint out of the bag, boys.
that's what I'm saying. So then we played 2 days at, CLP, crashed my place. And that's actually how I got to know Dan. He was a really cool dude. So shout out to Dan.
Cool. Yeah. He played with, was it Mutiny? He got a pro experience.
Yep.
Mutiny, and I remember the same thing, meeting Foley and all those guys, and he came out, and then he kept around for a long time. Now, obviously, he migrated out to California. The dream of any real paintball player was always go to California with the sun shining and paintball year round was always like
It's beautiful out there, man.
the oasis dream of a paintball player is to eventually make it out that way if you really could get out of the cold.
Dan's definitely put his time in this sport as well. Congratulations as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kyle, how have you been spending your quarantine?
Masturbating a lot and
Oh my god!
walking in the same circle around my block over and over and over
You
again.
can go outside.
Oh,
Yeah, I know I do, but I just don't go far.
So I texted Kyle right before this podcast and I said, hey, I'm busy until 7 because I had a vlog premiere right before this. So I had to
Well,
talk.
obviously till like what 8:10, whenever it was you got on.
What's that? so I told that and I go, hey, I'm busy until 7. We're going to start at 7, right? He said, yeah, same. And all I'm thinking in my head is, what the fuck is he doing? And I just think of him, like you just said, masturbating or doing something.
Why would you picture that? Why is that even in your brain, Ronnie? You're like a world class. You're like one of the top pro players in the world, and that's what's on your brain. It's Kyle Hunter wanking it. And you
100%. I'm not going to confirm it.
Midwest, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, fuck. I can't even look at his webcam without laughing.
This is so great. I'm so happy you guys invited me. Thank you guys. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
and I wanted to thank all of you for coming out, telling some stories. I know that after this, there's going to be more that we're going to do. I want to welcome keep all of you guys continuing this for as long as you want. If you have other groups of guys that you want to speak with and talk to, or when you see groups that I have jump on, you're more than welcome. You're all welcome.
I think Midwest will be the fun, so we'll keep this together.
Yeah.
Do you guys think Louis punching the air right now?
Why did Louis? Why did you not even? What was that about? You were supposed
I
to
told
be
him
here
to come. I told him what time it started, and he's like, "I'll be there at 7:45," and I'm like, "Fuck you," Start at 7 o'clock. So then he
What
like
happened to
called me
Justin
on
Roney?
Facebook
Does
calls
anyone
me 10
here know who
times, and I
Justin
fucking
Roney
blocked
is?
him. Just keeps
I know who
ringing
Justin
on
Roney
my
is.
phone. So
No, I mean
now he's all
besides you,
mad.
Ronnie.
Okay.
When I heard Justin Roney was gonna be on here, I was like, wait, he played like 2 D4 events, didn't he?
No, but you know what? Justin did a huge thing for Midwest Media. He did our photo, and he actually
Of course,
only person
Nick
throwing out-
Armstrong too. Nick Armstrong too.
100%.
Oh my goodness, jeez, wow.
GDT or D? What was it? GDT photo?
Oh, that was Carl Myers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Carl. Well, I forgot about Carl Myers too.
So
There's so many people out of the camp, Midwest. Jeez.
Well, before this devolves into something absolutely that will all be about, does anybody have anybody that they want to thank, shout outs or whatever? Kyle, of course, you're going to be
Thank
last.
you guys for coming.
That's how it is.
how come when you said
terrified.
that, I just was imagining.
Right,
Kyle,
right,
take it away.
right.
Kyle, take it away.
We're gonna close on a high/low point. so Kirk, is there anybody that you want to thank or anybody that you've been thinking about, friends or whatever? Just say, hey, what's up?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people. We played people for so long. There's so many people that stuck out. I mean, Cameron Weiner there. I grew up. He kind of got me into the game and convinced me to play sponsorship. TJ Andres and all those guys with Wise Guys setting the camp up that got me like thrilled going. I mean, obviously, shout out to Chris Jansen for keeping a very good group of kids and always like keeping the group going and really like love the sport. Shout out to Mike Bruno. I mean, that guy inspired me a lot and definitely taught me a lot about life and confidence and going forward. Shout out to I can't say enough about those guys. Rennick Miller for giving me the opportunity to play pro. Everyone, he's around for a long time. Ryan Dizon, obviously, Nick Pesz, all of them. Pesz fed me and clothed me and kept me in his house working at CLP. So there was an era of there. I could go on for days about all the guys that really like made it. But like, if you play paintball long enough, you meet some people that you could never really thank them all. But they've obviously all played huge influences and stuff like that. Even Distortion. I mean, Randy Smith gave me this play with Distortion too. I didn't play with them for Heat and all that stuff. I never transferred over there. I went over to Mike Bruno, but like, he still gave me an opportunity. So anybody gives you an opportunity to get closer to the paintball dream, you owe it to them. Be negative or positive, all that same thing. Dave Wilson, the guy gave me a shout out.
Dave. Dave Wilson,
dude, big shout out to Dave Wilson for sure.
Yeah. D-Dub, baby. Yeah, man. Wow.
See,
Yep.
all the paintball fields.
Yep. And Nick, how about you?
For myself, just of course the parents. You got to start with them from day one, bringing you out. But the coaches, Mike Bruno, Charlie Richard, he has done so much for me that I can't even imagine. He brought me and all my friends along the paintball ride. Rennick Miller giving me the chance once again, like Kirk said, to play professional paintball. And now just everyone in the industry trying to keep the sport growing. I want to thank you and keep it going. Please, Ronnie, you are probably one of my biggest inspirations coming from that area, seeing where you've come to where you've gone. It's amazing. I tell you every time I see how happy I am that you're either winning or about to win or you won or something like that. Like it's the shit. You're awesome. So everyone just paintball. I love the Midwest paintball. So thank you guys for including me in this.
Absolutely. Ronnie, how about you? There you go. First get the camera. Make sure the camera angle is set.
No, honestly, like first I want to thank you, Brad, for bringing us all together because I haven't talked to these guys in so long, and just being able to shoot the shit with them for this is, it's really cool, and I hope we're able to do more of these. I'd be glad to help you with other interviews.
Quarantine,
absolutely,
and just bringing us together. That's really cool and awesome for you to do for paintball, and just to be able for us to share our stories and the stories that has linked us together. We all share the same thing as paintball, so it's really awesome. I could go on a tangent and a huge list of people I could thank, from the Houston Heat owners, Randy and Danette Smith, to Dave Wilson, who was my Randy Smith right before Randy Smith, to all the guys from CLP like Louie and Nick, and to Kirk and Kyle and yourself, Brad. Like, there's so many people I could thank, but the biggest thing is the one thing I want to thank, and I don't want to be corny, but it's paintball. Without this sport, I wouldn't have any friends. Without this sport, we wouldn't be sitting where we were. Without this sport, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in and being able to live as loud as I want to live. And without this sport, I wouldn't be able to do the things that I want to do with people that I've either looked up to or had many, whether it was battles over the years to just memories and stories from events. So it's paintball is what I really
many memories.
Yeah.
And I was going to say it's really important, like Brad and Ronnie, like the ambassadors, trying to keep the sport going, even though like times a financial may not be provided or so forth. I mean, those are the real pioneers that have really kept it going.
Yeah,
well, I appreciate it. And now finishing up with Kyle here. I don't know if anybody's going to violate any contract stuff here.
All right, guys, thank you. I'm out.
Well, thank you guys for coming.
Yeah.
Kirk Wozney was actually Kirk Wozney was actually one of the first people that played at a high level that showed me anything in the Badlands and showed me the time of day. So that was pretty cool when I was younger. So I appreciate you always. Ronnie, you've done a lot of good in the sport, and in general, you've always been a good friend, buddy. So I love you, and Nick. So thank you guys for coming out and doing this. But yeah, Dave Wilson for keeping me involved in the sport. Rob Cole did a lot for me as well. Bruno, pretty much anybody from back in the day. Louis Johnson shot me in the head when I was at a 3-man at Odyssey.
Who's Louis Johnson?
11 years old. And that motivated me to fucking play paintball at some point at some level. And that's why I want to keep stopping D4 events, because I think he's the reason for this. And this is why I have 64 rings, dude. And fucking it is what it is. Thanks, Louis. You're the man.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
That's a fact.
Kyle, you have lived up to my limits and my limitations that I set on you. So you are allowed one last in passing, and it has to be
come on,
subdued.
dude. You put me on the spot. I can't do
Headset
this good, you know. Blast kick!
Rest in peace, everyone who's ringing.
Oh, and Virgil Frey.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, shout out to Virgil.
Shout out.
Absolutely. Yes. And I just
do not
want
know
to
Virgil,
again.
but I like what he's doing.
Yes, I want to thank you guys and welcome you all to Blast Camp for any of the practices or whatever. Please just reach out to me. I want the guys to get as much access to smart Midwest players who understand it. And it's obvious that this group, or at least
Bold
most
statement.
of the group, understands that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I appreciate all of your guys' time, and please let's do this again soon.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thanks for having us, Brad.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed it quite a bit. Thank you.
So, yes,
Later, fellas.
absolutely. I will say goodbye to you, Nick. So thank you very much and have a great night. Kirk,
Yeah.
again, every time it's different and it's new and it's exciting. So please, if there's anything that I can do for you, please let me know. And I welcome you out. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, please come out if, and we'll work you in, please.
And I appreciate it. Definitely missed the bug's been catching a lot more and more lately. Now.
Yep. And it's only get from it what you want, because you got a lot of experience and a lot to give people. So please just, it's an open invitation. Just reach out to me.
No, definitely appreciate it. Once the weather warms up and the clears over, we'll be running
perfect. Thank you very much, Kirk. Have a good one. Ronnie, I really want to thank you. Thank you very much for coming out, talking with us, and it means a lot. And it's that I need you. I need your direction. I need the guys that respect you. My guys respect you. And the more that you and I grow together and are able to help hold these guys, I think the better that we'll all be for it. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time.
Hey man, anything I can do to help, and anytime you need me on this podcast, as long as I'm free, I'll be able to help out.
Yep, and I'll send you a list of the people who I have coming on, and if you want to jump on, you let me know, and that's how it is. So
Sounds
thank
good,
you
buddy.
very much, Ronnie.
Yep.
Thank you, Kyle. We're ending with me and you, bro.
Absolutely.
I from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you. From when I reached out to you and we were talking about it, we had a lot of laughs, and you're like, I can't believe this, I can't believe that. Just from hearing,
legend.
Yeah, well, just from me sharing this stuff with you, it helps me fit back into the puzzle of the Midwest paintball. And it's what I want to do. Is I want to grow the area. I want people to get better. I want to be approachable. I want it to be like it was. And you're helping. You're helping in your way, and I appreciate that very much, sir. Very much. And
thanks for having me.
No, and we will do this again and again, guys. I appreciate you all very much. So thank you. Wow, that was amazing. I don't know what else to say except for, the Midwest is pulling together in a great way. The future is bright. We're going to all make it through this, and we're going to do it together. So I want to thank everybody that was on with me tonight. I want to invite other people that I've talked to. Come on, bring your teams, bring your store. Let's talk about paintball. Let's make sure that it stays fresh in everybody's mind, because we're going to get through all of this together. So again, thank you. Thank you all very much.